ASMR. Hey guys, today I thought that I would read the lyrics to the how do you say his name? Baz Luhrmann. Everybody's free to wear sunscreen because it's about to be like 21 years since I graduated high school. I'm gonna be 40 in September, and I'm curious how some of these lyrics applied to my classmates, and the ones that I wish I'd listened to, stuff like that. Now, I was a senior in 1999, a senior in high school, and I think this song was actually more geared towards seniors in college, but you know, we played it everywhere when we were seniors. Some people wanted it to be the class song, but I mean that doesn't really work. It's not really a singing song. A girl in our class that had a really nice voice ended up singing the song In My Life. If you hear a little bell, it's my cat Betty playing with her little cat ball. So, sorry if my breathing sounds weird. For some reason I always get a little anxious when I'm making a video, and then I feel like I can't breathe for like the first minute or two. So, ladies and gentlemen of the class, that would be my cat. At least she's scratching on the scratch post. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 99, wear sunscreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. The long-term benefits of sunscreen have been proven by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. Now, I did not follow this advice. I graduated in June of 1999. The following summer, in 2000, I think it was probably either July or August, we went to really the only amusement park back home in Maine called Funtown. It's called Funtown, USA. And they have an amusement park side with the rides, and then they have a small water park side. And it was an overcast day, and I was wearing swimsuit bottoms, like shorts type thing, like board shorts, and basically like a tank top type thing. And they let me go down the slide like that, so I was happy. But since it was overcast, I did not think that I needed to wear sunscreen. My dad kept telling me I needed to put it on, but I kept telling him there's no sun. You know, it was really hot, but there was no sun. And this was hours in and out of the pool, up and down the ladder, waiting in line, out in the open with no covering. And I didn't think anything of it, because I didn't look red. I didn't feel burnt. You know, it was gray outside. Well, when we left, many hours later, we were eating at probably like a 99 restaurant or something like that, and I was was sitting there and, my friends were joking around because my parents went home. And my friends were going to give me a ride to my apartment. And I was sitting there and I was starting to feel a little nauseous. And my friend said maybe, maybe you got too much heat or something. And I was like, but there was no sun, but it was hot. And I wasn't really red yet. I felt super nauseous on the ride home. It's like an hour and a half to almost 2-hour ride. I did not get sick, but I felt horrible. By the time I went to bed last night, the red was starting to show up. I woke up the next day and I was supposed to go to work. And I could barely get a bra and a tank top or a shirt on. It hurt to put a shirt on. And I was really, really dark red, especially right in here, and my shoulders, all the areas that, and my back, all the areas that were visible, out in the open when you wear a tank top or a bathing suit. And I was starting to get a tiny blister right here. So I put a little bit of I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of cooling gel. It wasn't aloe though. So I went into work with a tank top on, and you're not technically supposed to do that. But when they saw how burnt I was, they understood and they let me work. However, by the afternoon, the little blister had spread, and someone went to touch me and said, "Oh, you need to rub that gel in, or it's not going to do anything." And they were like, "Oh my God, that's a blister. You've got a really bad burn here." So they ended up sending me home. By the next day, I had blisters this big, all over here, all over my arms, all over my back, and it hurt so bad. I ended up going to the emergency room after 2 days, and all they could really do for me was give me some sort of topical cream. And the guy had a big fat tongue depressor type thing that he tried to apply it to my blisters on, and I was like, ow. And I had to go out in public to get to the emergency room, and it was really embarrassing. I tried to get a towel on myself, but the big, thick, rough, towels are normally soft, but the one I had was kind of rough. Just touching me was ugh. So some people saw my blisters and were horrified. Long story not so short, it took 3 weeks to fully heal from that, and it was so disgusting. And I still kind of worry to this day that at some point I'll find out that that really bad sunburn has screwed me over. I've always had lots of freckles and moles and stuff. So, I worry that someday that could turn into cancer or something. It was so long ago, but who knows? And I wish I could say that I completely learned my lesson. Probably like 5 years later, I put sunscreen all up here, but I didn't really think about like my ankles and stuff like that. One day I got a sunburn on my ankles, and for 2 days my feet were so swollen that I could barely step on them. So now I always wear sunscreen. Wear sunscreen. Let's see. Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your youth until they have faded. But trust me, in 20 years you'll look back at photos of yourself and recall in a way you can't grasp now how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous you really looked. You are not as fat as you imagine. Don't worry about the future. Okay, so, now I was fat in high school. You know, I'm fat now, but at the tail end of my senior year, in like February of my senior year, and we graduate in June, I went on like a crash diet and did Billy Blank's typo like 3 times a day. And I probably lost like 50, 60 pounds by the time we graduated. So pictures of me like at graduation and right afterwards, you know, are a lot better than pictures of when I was younger than that. And you know, it's funny. I've always been told that, you know, people have always thought that I looked younger than I was. When I was 19 and working at a grocery store, I went out back to run a machine. And when I came back out, one of the managers who I had not worked with yet, tried to chastise me for being out back, because you need to be 18 to be out back. And I said, well, I'm 19. And she thought I was like 15 or 16. And then when I was in my late 20s, people thought I was still in high school. So I always thought that even though I've had up and down weight years, that I would luck out and never look my age, especially if I lost a bunch of weight. But now, just in like the last year, I feel like I'm starting to look more like my age of almost 40, like my eyes. Like at first I thought maybe it was because my sleep pattern is so bad. Like, there's a train coming. I like stay up super late sometimes, sleep in super late sometimes, just not sleep sometimes. But unfortunately, I think it's just like age and like skin and hormone issues. So now I'm looking old. Don't worry about the future, or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum. The real troubles in your life are apt to be things that never crossed your worried mind. The kind that blindside you at 4 p.m. on some idle Tuesday. Now, I have always been a worrier, a compulsive worrier. I've always had social anxiety. So, you know, little things that I used to obsess about, I would worry about. You know, I'm not going to get personal here at all. will say that it's so true that the real troubles in your life are things that pop up out of nowhere that you never thought you'd ever be worrying about, and that's even scarier because then all of a sudden, at least for me, that brings up more anxiety of thoughts like, well, if this can happen, what if this happens? So it gets worse. And I found, actually, to be honest, that let's say there's like a financial issue, or you have an issue with your bank or a bill or something like that. And this isn't even like big, huge problems that I'm talking about could pop up, but say something annoying like a banking issue or a bill. I have found that that type of news will come at like 4 p.m. on a Friday when nothing is open until Monday. So you have all weekend to obsess about it until you can fix the problem. Do one thing every day that scares you. I have never done this. I have always been an extremely stubborn person for the most part. Now, there's things that we do that we have to do that we don't feel like doing, but we know we gotta do them anyway, like, eventually going to the doctor, or, you gotta brush your teeth or they're gonna fall out, obviously. You gotta schedule your appointments, you gotta talk to strangers to do things like that. Like, yeah, that, whatever, but if there is something that I really, really don't want to do, then I will probably find a way out of it, and it's a big character flaw for me. Sing. I do that when no one's around. Don't be reckless with other people's hearts. I think most of us at least make an attempt with that. Don't put up with people. Must be a plane. Don't put up with people. Oh, maybe it's thunder. It might be thunder. Don't put up with people who are reckless with yours. Floss. Floss, definitely floss. Don't waste your time on jealousy. Sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind. That is a really tough one. Now, I will admit that a lot of times I am jealous of people that eat whatever they want and stay thin. I am jealous of people that have not had similar struggles that I have had, and they post on, they're good friends, and I feel bad for being jealous, but I do get jealous when they post on Facebook, like, oh, I'm out on my boat on the lake. Like, just, Facebook is phony anyway, but it just makes it seem like they're always constantly happy and have no issues. And of course I want them to be happy, but it also makes me jealous. The race is long, and in the end, it's only with yourself. Remember the compliments you receive, forget the insults. Yeah, no, sorry. I can probably remember the majority of the insults that I have received. Well, when I say that, I don't mean like negative comments on YouTube or something. I mean like, in person. Like things bullies used to say, or comments that friends or family made, not meaning them to be nasty, but they kind of came off that way. Then and they apologized. You accepted the apology, but you ain't forgetting them. And of course, right after that, he said, if you succeed in doing this, tell me how. So, no one's able to really do that. Keep your old love letters, throw away your old bank statements. I do have a crap ton of love letters that I wrote to my husband. And with online banking, like, I don't even open the statements when they come in the mail. So, stretch. I honestly, even though you're supposed to, I never stretch before working out. Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your life. The most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. Some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't. This is an interesting one because in my class, like, we have a variety of people. We have some doctors, veterinarians, we have some people that are happily doing voice work. I have a guy in my class who I always admired who he sang with Broadway voices. He has been an announcer on that show that Alec Baldwin hosts, the game show Match Game or something like that. He's the announcer on that show. He's done a lot of commercials with his voiceovers and stuff, so that's really cool. We've got people who are lawyers, but there's also a ton of people that just work normal jobs. They work at grocery stores, or they're stay-at-home parents or stay-at-home wives. There's people that went to college and got degrees, but they couldn't use the degrees, and they were degrees that you would think that you'd get a job with, but they ended up, becoming a manager at a grocery store because there just was not a job for that. So it's all across the board. Get plenty of calcium. I could probably use more. Be kind to your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. Maybe you'll marry, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll have children, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll divorce. You're gonna get a divorce. Maybe you'll divorce at 40. Maybe you'll dance the funky chicken on your 75th wedding anniversary. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much or berate yourself either. Your choices are half chance, so are everybody else's. This one's interesting too, because as far as my class goes, we've got people that had babies literally as they were graduating high school, and those babies are now in college and have been for a year or two. There are people that, like me, who had a child or children in their early 20s, and got married around that time. And there are people in my class that are just now about to turn 40 and just now getting married and having babies. And then there's people that are just married and don't have children and don't plan to have children. And then there's people that aren't married and don't plan to get married. So it's all across the board. And the age of it's just so funny because my close friend from high school, well, two of my close friends from high school, they both have really small children, and then I have like a sophomore in high school. And so it's so weird. It's all across the board. Enjoy your body. Use it every way you can. Don't be afraid of it or what other people think of it. Yeah, right. It's the greatest instrument you'll ever know. True. Dance even if you have nowhere to do it, but in your own living room. I do that. Read the instructions even if you don't follow them. I still don't do that. Do not read beauty magazines. They will only make you feel ugly. True. Get to know your parents. You never know when they'll be gone for good. Be nice to your siblings. They are the best link to your past and the people most likely to stick with you in the future. This one's really sad. I mean, the older we get, obviously the older our children get, and the older our parents get. And the scary thing, obviously, about our parents getting older is that it feels like they're closer to death. And, I, a couple years ago, my son and I stayed with my parents for a while, and, we all got on each other's nerves a lot. But now that I'm gone, it's I think, wow, I'm glad that I had that time consistently with them. Because you just really think about how fast time is moving. Yeah. Understand that friends come and go, but for the precious few, you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle. I'm gonna have to pause this here because this video is getting long. Okay, let's get back to it. Sorry if you will hear video game sounds in the background. And you unfortunately probably will, because now it's later in the evening. I had to upload this and get it off my phone. Upload it to Google Drive, all that stuff, so that I could do more. Okay, so I talked about understand that friends come and go, but for the precious few, you should hold on. Work hard to bridge the gaps in geography and lifestyle. So, I had a super best friend growing up in my small town. She moved to my town when I was in first grade, and she was in second grade. She lived just down the street. She had a bunch of brothers and sisters. It was kind of like the Brady Bunch. And she basically lived at my house on the weekend and most of the summer. I was the type of kid that loved having other people spend the night, but I could never make it one night at anyone else's house. I was a wimp like that, so we were super close. It was kind of an opposites attract thing. I was super shy and overweight, and she was slim and semi-outgoing, but we clicked really well. And then when our small elementary school closed down and we were both set to go to a new junior high together, even though she was going to be a grade ahead of me, we were still going to be in the same school at least. Unfortunately, her parents decided about a month before school started that they were going to move away. And they moved from Maine to Alabama. So it was a really long way away. And because this was before the internet, we communicated through actual written letters. I remember my mom, before my friend moved, my mom bought us both really nice stationery and 2 books of stamps. So we wrote letters to each other, and over the summers, for the next few years, she would come up to visit for about a month. when I was living in my first apartment, and her and my boyfriend did not get along, and it was very awkward because we had not experienced being around each other, having any sort of boyfriend or anything like that, because she had moved away before we experienced any of that together. So it was really an awkward dynamic for us. We both kind of behaved immaturely and didn't get along, and it was really super, super awkward. And a couple years later, we both apologized for the whole situation. And, after I met and married my husband, when we were living in Northern California, she came out to visit when my son was like 2, and she got along great with my husband, and it was a really nice visit. And then she has also, when I had flown home to visit my mom and dad with my son when he was 3, so basically like a year later, she also flew up to Maine and she stayed with them. So we all got to hang out together for like a month. I have not seen her in person since then, and that was 2007, so it's been a very long time. But since then, Facebook and MySpace and everything happened, so now we mostly communicate on Facebook. And she is, a couple years back, got married, and she has a little boy now that's a couple years old, so it's one of those weird things where, I wish, a part of me really wishes that I could say that she was still my bestest friend, because, we were so tight. Did I do that right? We were super tight when we were younger. And there's such a nostalgia there for me. Junior high sucked for me, and high school was just kind of like whatever, I was there. So my fondest memories are actually when she lived in my town and we went to grade school. So I really want to hold on to that, but in reality, I know that we both moved on to having friends that are closer to us now than we are to each other now. And that really, my husband is basically my best friend right now, so yeah. And then I have 2 friends from high school that I consider pretty good friends. We didn't really start being good friends until junior year of high school. And it's really weird, we didn't really start physically hanging out outside of school until after high school. But we always had so much fun together, and I still communicate with both of them on the frequent, especially the girl that I'm friends with. She may or may not be watching us. We can go for months not talking and then just randomly send a text, and it's like we're continuing a conversation, and we kind of understand each other like that. Neither of us get mad. I don't know, we are weird, but I'm weirder. What's sad is that the same place. I'm in Texas, and they are both somewhere else. Yeah. But, we try to keep up communication at least. Because the older you get, the more you need the people you knew when you were young. So true. I have always been huge into nostalgia. To the point where it's annoying to other people. Like I said, I have always really missed the elementary school years. And when I talk, train again. When I talk to people that I went to elementary school with, some of them understand that, and the rest of them are like, nah, I barely remember. But my memory is really good. I can remember so much from back then because I enjoyed it. I think the people that I know that don't really think so much about our old elementary school days are the ones that, once we transferred to a new junior high school, they made new friends and had new experiences and had an easier transition than I did. And then those friends carried over into high school. Oh, sorry. So, I don't know, but I think about nostalgia all the time. I have all my high school yearbooks. I wish that I had my junior high and my elementary yearbooks. I do have some pictures from back then, but because I'm very much into stuff like that, even though my son could care less, at least right now, I have gotten him a yearbook every year. We're talking pre-K until still right now, sophomore year. So, live in New York City once, but leave before it makes you hard. Live in Northern California once, but leave before it makes you soft. Travel. Now, I was able to live in Northern California, and I was able to travel, but only because my husband was in the military for a while. A lot of people, I would say most people, don't have the luxury of just up and moving, so. Except certain, I cannot read that, inalienable truths. Yeah. Prices will prices will rise. Politicians will philander. You too will get old, and when you do, you'll fantasize that when you were young, prices were reasonable. Politicians were noble and children respected their elders. Why is that? Why does that happen to people? I get so annoyed when this happens. Currently, I see it happen mostly from people that are either my age or 15 years older than me, who now want to say that kids these days have no respect, and all kids these days do is play on their electronics and stuff. There's been stuff like that every frickin' generation, man. My generation had Nintendo, Atari, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. We had computers. We had computer games. We had TV. Not everyone had cable or satellite, but it was there. And there's always been some kids that are rude, and there's always been polite kids. There's always been kids that don't play outside. You can't put people in a box. It kills me when I see people my age or a little bit older trashing the current kids and teens because I'm like, okay, look, it's not as easy as it was when we were younger. Our parents could sit there and watch soap operas and toss us outside and say, it's a nice day, go and play. I mean, they could watch TV, or they could fold laundry, or they could clean the house and send out. This video is going to be such a hot mess, as usual. I keep getting cut off. Anyway, every generation says the same thing about the previous generation. And every single time we're all wrong. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, let's just leave it at that. I have to finish this up before I get cut off again. Don't expect anyone else to support you. Maybe you have a trust fund. Maybe you have a wealthy spouse, but you never know when either one might run out. I think this is really true as an adult. I've seen a lot of people that this has happened to. An unexpected divorce, a heartbreaking death of a spouse, and they just were not prepared financially for it, and they aren't used to having to deal with finances, or they lose a significant amount of income that was coming in, and it's a scary thing. Don't mess too much with your hair, or by the time you're 40, it will look 85. I've been really lucky that I've been dyeing my hair since high school. Sometimes it's with a hairdresser, sometimes it's a box color, which really pisses hair stylists off. I know. And they're probably right. I just can't always get to the hair place. Anyway, I've been lucky that my hair is pretty healthy. Be careful whose advice you buy, but be patient with those who supply it. Advice is a form of nostalgia. Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from the disposal, wiping it off, painting over the ugly parts, and recycling it for more than it's worth. But trust me on the sunscreen. So true. So true about the sunscreen. But yeah, I don't know. Growing up's a bitch. And so was making this video. It's all over the place. Editing is gonna be terrible. Woo-hoo.